What's up, people? I'm Shaggy, the Opinionated Hippie, starting a deep dive into Bruce Springsteen studio albums. For those of you who are watching this channel for the first time, maybe because of Bruce or haven't watched in a while, I have blepharitis, which means this eye is infected. It's getting better, but it still looks red, hence the glasses inside. I just realized that like the squirrel painting that is of me is wearing sunglasses and a backwards hat. So I'm like, I could actually rock this look and not explain it only because of that awesome portrait of me. I'm going to explain it anyways. The Zappa connection to Bruce Springsteen. An awesome singing duo who I'm pretty sure is everybody's favorite Frank singing duo. The Turtles, Flo and Eddie. They sing on Hungry Heart. Everybody's got one. Come in on that second verse, continue through the chorus. Oh, it's absolutely beautiful. Plus, later in Springsteen's career, he did some, I want to say it was a live event where like Clapton was there. God, I see God. Connection to Zappa. Townsend was there. Townsend was in a band with a drummer who played a nun in a Zappa movie. Plus, I think there were a couple other musicians who have Zappa, maybe 1 degree of separation ties instead of like, other degrees of separation. But anyways, we're going with the Turtles as the main connection. But yeah, I'm going to do it by decade. So we got 4 here in the 70s. I'm going to go through them 4 to 1 by ranking, drop the ranking at the end. And then as we move through the decades, I will meld those rankings together. These are my opinions. These are my thoughts. These are my experiences with these albums. As far as these first 4 in the 70s, we're going from great to greater to greater to greatest. None of these are bad. So any complaints and rankings are just me nitpicking and trying to justify why 1 is 4 instead of 3 and 2 and 1 and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, you'll figure it out as we go. All right, that's it. On to number 4. My number 4 is his number 2, The Wild, the Innocent, and the E Street Shuffle. Came out in 1973. This is kind of almost the same template as the first album. We got some early, very character-driven songwriting, but just kind of much longer songs, really kind of taking his time and exploring more. Just, I mean, what do we got? Like some 7-minute, we got a 8-minute, we got a 10-minute. Yeah, we got like 3 that are over 7 and 1 that's close to 10. So we're really starting to just stretch out, maybe be a little more indulgent. And I think it's those tiny little indulgences, which maybe don't necessarily work for me. Like there's sort of an unnecessary reprise at the end of the first track, the E Street Shuffle, which I don't think works. The sort of circusy tuba, elephant stomp energy of Wild Bill's Circus Story, I think is probably my least favorite track, and maybe my second least favorite track in the first 4 albums. Other than that, it's like just enough. Oh, and the sound of the acoustic guitar on Sandy, 4th of July, Asbury Park. I've never really liked the sound of that acoustic guitar. There's something very just kind of thin about it that it just has never really worked for me. Those are my 3 complaints about this album. This album also contains maybe not my favorite, all-time favorite Springsteen song, but a 2, 3, a top 5er for sure. But yeah, 7 songs, opens up with the E Street Shuffle. Love the world building that he kind of does here and throughout a lot of his albums, like just the E Street reference and then the E Street brand and like references to E Street and like in the next album, like making reference to when the big man joined the band and stuff like that. I like that sort of like, as he is writing these character-driven stories, he's like repeating places and names and ideas. Kind of reminds me of what Craig Finn and the Hold Steady would do later. This is very much him sort of kind of taking his own identity a little more into his hands. He's still got some Tom Waits storytelling energy mixed with some over wordy Dylan energy, but he's definitely carving his own niche out in like the rock and roll and in the rock and roll pantheon. Like the opening E Street Shuffle, 4th of July, Asbury Park is second. I just don't like the sound of this song. I like the song itself, but some of the decisions as far as the mixing and what the instruments sound like has never really worked for me. The way he's talking to Sandy and telling her about the waitress that he was seeing who no longer has a desire for me always just breaks my heart. I think the lyrics are so incredible, but it's very kind of sad. The 3rd song, Kitty's Back, just perfect creation. big dramatic guitar intro with some nice horns in the back. It's just like this huge song. And then we drop into these really almost like cool keys with like just voice, kind of maybe like a bluesy or jazzier feel after this really big dramatic intro. But then we just get this really dynamic, ambitious song over the course of the next 7 minutes. Really fun. It kind of gets trippy and psyche for a while towards the end, in like a frantic carnival-esque way, but not in the circusy way that the following song would be. Some great horn action throughout this. Kitty's Back, fantastic song. The weakest song on the album, I think, Wild Bill's Circus Story. We got a tuba that sounds like elephants marching. It almost sounds like a Dumbo song. And we get some nice acoustic start, very circusy lyrics. I just think this is the weakest track by far. That's side A. Side B starts off with Incident on 57th Street. Really nice piano in the beginning before we get like a band drop. But we still it's a pretty chill song, but there's just a lot of little flourishes musically that are happening that keep things interesting. Love the line, those romantic young boys, all they want to do is fight. Nice ending, little guitar solo action at the end before we get a really nice piano outro. Really nice little song, close to 8 minutes. And then one of his many, many, many perfect songs, Rosalita, Come Out Tonight. It's just a perfect song. There are so many absolutely incredible lines, incredible musical phrases. The energy is ridiculous. Live, it's somehow even better. Has some of my favorite lyrics of all time. That whole part when he's like, my tires were slashed and I almost crashed. It's just absolutely great when the band comes in with that. And then we get that, there's a little cafe where they play guitar. That little musical section during that ending part is just so cool and just kind of slinky and funky for a little while. I do want to bring up the soft, sweet little girl's tongue line, because I've mentioned for other artists, I'm not really a big fan when adult rock and roll singers refer to women as little girls, but this is very much a character narrated song. And I think the character singing this song, who is going to skip some school, so he's probably still in high school, would very much refer to his sweetheart and her sweet little girl's tongue. So I've always given Springsteen a pass on this one, and I don't have any reason not to, but I did want to acknowledge that I'm aware of that line. I'm going to give him a pass on it because this is just a perfect song. It's huge live. It's huge on the album. It's just 7 minutes and 4 seconds of utter perfection. And then the album closes out with New York City Serenade. Really nice dramatic piano opening for like almost about 1.5 minutes, close to 2 minutes. Nice acoustic guitar enters. We get a funky little break about 5 minutes through. Some nice band backing vocals come in like for this brief break. Some nice Mellotron action at the end. But just a nice dramatic sort of storytelling song by Springsteen. It's a strong album. One kind of weak track. Some of the decisions in like the production and what instruments sound like are kind of weak. But then it's also got Kitty's Back and Rosalita, which are like top tier Springsteen. But that's my number 4 in the 70s, The Wild, The Innocent, and The E Street Shuffle. My number 3 is his debut, 1973's Greetings from Asbury Park, New Jersey. A fantastic debut. There are a number of just all-time Springsteen classics on this album, plus a couple of all-time Springsteen classics that I think are kind of overlooked, throughout the years, though I think those who know. But it's just, I think from start to finish, it's a fantastic listen. It's just maybe because it's less ambitious or he just doesn't have as much experience under his belt, it just doesn't come across as just as impactful as the next two on this list are going to be. But it's still like, I don't know. I think it's a perfect listen. Blinded by the Light opens, fun young Dylan wannabe opening, some great lines throughout this incredibly overly verbose song. Absolutely fantastic. She got down, but she never got tight. That's a great line. What is it? He said what you like, but just don't do it here. I've always liked that line. It's just a great song. I remember the first time I heard this, I was waiting for the epic guitar solo because I only knew Manfred Mann's Earth Band's version of this, which is like a completely different thing. That's a sort of proggy type synth driven thing. And this is all like a guitar and kind of skittish and really almost kind of like wired in a weird way, like a young, scrawny Springsteen singing this. But it's a great opener. That's followed up by Growing Up, which is just an epic song for a young songwriter to like drop on his debut album. Some more just the lyrics that he drops on these. I had a jukebox graduate for her first mate. She couldn't sail, but she sure could sing. Love it. The bass playing on this is absolutely fantastic. The imagery is good throughout the entire thing. It's just like, and there's this sort of rebellious nature of the lyrics, just like they told me to sit down, so I stood up. Yeah. It's just that like the defiance of youth, and he captures it so incredibly well. Mary Queen of Arkansas, kind of a slower acoustic song, wailing harmonica, really short, right? This is like, oh no, this is the longer one. It's the next one that's really short. Some more great lines in here. This one devastates me every time I hear it. You're not man enough for me to hate you, or woman enough for kissing. That's just like, ouch. Yeah, it's just great. And it's another one of those where like, he's kind of singing it to this woman, but at the end, it's sort of this like, hey, but I know a place where we can go. Like, times are hard for both of us, but if you and I just want to get away together, I know a place we can go. It's just one of those songs that would kind of define the rest of this decade and much of the 80s. The short little 2-minute Does This bus stop at 82nd Street, a nice little upbeat rock track, lots of lyrics. Again, great bass, just kind of in and out, we get done. And then his first, I think, bona fide classic, Lost in the Flood. Great piano voice intro, sort of a mini epic. We got Catholicism references. We got about being in America. We referenced the war. We got racing cars. We got so much going on here that it's like almost like a snapshot of everything Springsteen would then unravel over the course of like the next, 4 or 5 albums. Ends a little too abruptly. It feels like it needs a more epic ending, but for what it is, 4 and 5 minutes, I think it's his first just perfect 5 minutes of music. That closes side A. Then we get this nice little slow piano voice thing called The Angel. We get the pop, another one that I think should be more of a hit, For You. The pop hook in For You, the chorus in this sort of jaunty 70s piano pop rock. For You should have been a radio hit. I don't understand how that didn't happen. Then we get Spirit in the Night. Another one where his storytelling, the characters, this feels like a summer night in like a place where you can go swimming. Like water plays such an important imagery in so many of his songs, just that maybe like the baptism of water, that like being able to escape your problems and like go swimming in the middle of the night and come out fresh and new and clean. Yeah, just one of the best portrayals of a summer night. What is that line in there? I think I really dug her. Yeah, I think I really dug her and I was too loose to fake. Love that line. Great storytelling. And then it closes out with the absolute beast of It's Hard to Be a Saint in the City, in which he just goes through every single vice the city has to offer and just like, hey man, it's hard. When this is what's being thrown your way and you really don't have much else in the world, it's hard to be a saint in this city. And the part when he comes in and he's like, and the Southside Sisters, does that little quick, like fake falsetto thing, and the swagger, just swagger. This song just has swagger. Yeah, this is a great, great album. Like, that's how good the next two are. Like, this thing is fantastic. Any other artist, there's 1 or 2. For him, it's 3 in this decade alone. My number 3, Greetings from Asbury Park, New Jersey. On to number 2, which somehow gets even better. My number 2 is his number 4, 1978's Darkness at the Edge of Town. Another perfect album. I think the thing this album does so incredibly well that a lot of Springsteen songs do, but this album and one that we're going to get in the 80s does maybe better than any other, is capture that whole idea of like how important and essential and life-changing like love is, romantic love, when you have nothing else to look forward to in life. Like, I listen to Springsteen and like, I honestly cannot relate. I grew up in the suburbs in Southern California. The albums I listen to are like, when I listen to like Arcade Fire, The Suburbs, that's my experience. Like those are the thoughts I recognize. When I listen to Rush, like especially like Subdivisions era stuff, that's my experience. I wasn't like growing up in a factory town. I didn't feel like there was a dead end road that I was necessarily tied to what my father's job was. I didn't feel like I lived in a town that I just had to get out of. I wanted to get out of suburbia, but there were literally, I grew up in Los Angeles, there were literally 8 freeways that could get me out of suburbia. So I never felt that trapped desperation that his characters feel. But I can relate because he writes such incredible lyrics and the music is so good and the vocal performance is so good. And this is one of those that when I listen to it, it just like tears my heart. Even if the music is something big like Badlands or The Promised Land or Prove It All Night or these things that are just like almost like rock anthems, you listen to the lyrics and you're like, man, these characters, I feel for them. Nobody does this better, man. Despite what Carly Simon says. It's not James Bond, it's Bruce Springsteen. Opens up with Badlands, just awesome piano-driven rock. I love the whole I believe in theme, the repeating of I believe in, I believe in. Absolutely love that. Fantastic. Follow up, second song, Adam Raised a Cain. If you have not heard Adam Raised a Cain, you go listen to Darkness at the Edge of Town and listen to the 1-2 opening punch of Badlands, Adam Raised a Cain. The guitar energy, again with the biblical themes, and the keys to your daddy's Cadillac. One of Bruce's most raw, visceral, just grab them by the throat and scream in their faces vocal performances. Just absolutely, just top notch stuff. Just a blistering performance. Something in the Night, which has a much gentler piano vibe in the beginning, and then Bruce just comes in with this anguished, wailing singing that just tears at your soul. It's just like the sound of desperate youth looking for something in the night. Like you're driving, you're turning the radio up loud, you're going to go get a drink, you're going to do whatever you can to escape the fact that you need to find something, even though it all ends up just doesn't bring you the satisfaction you need. Devastating song. Candy's Room starts off with some awesome like hi-hat action, almost like a little One Big Holiday by My Money Jacket, like stole that. And then neat little song, a lot of little different sections, nice, really like intense, like rock guitar solo at the end. In Candy's Room, a fun song, even though maybe the lyrics aren't also as the most uplifting thing in the world. The energy of the music is really fun. The nice squealing guitar solo at the end. And then the first half of the album, side A, closes with Racing in the Street. This awesome piano intro, great vocals. We shut them up and we shut them down. And then he takes the dancing in the streets thing, summer is here and the time is right for racing in the street. And the song kind of like fades out non-conclusively, and that sort of like, it just kind of like fades away. Like, this is just what we do. And it's just like this endless cycle. We live these empty lives and then we try to find some sort of like solace or some kind of something at night while we're racing in the street. And it's just like, even though there's some good energy in it, ultimately it just feels like it's all for nothing. Like the title of this album, Darkness at the Edge of Town, should warn you about the kind of emotions paying too close attention to this album will bring in you. Side B opens up with Promised Land, just a great song about struggling through life. There's a line in here about referring to like what happens as you get older and you just kind of make your way through life, but your eyes go blind and your blood runs cold. I had the flu like 3 days ago. My blood, I was like sweating and freezing cold at the same time. I related to that line. I relate to this line. Great song. Awesome opener. Factory is next. And Factory is probably the most monotonous, sort of monochromatic, nothing really happens in the course of this song. It's pretty short. I think it's like under 3 minutes long. But form meets function, because the drudgery of working in a factory and doing the same thing day after day after day, and there really aren't many highs, and the lows are probably some pretty bad lows when you think of it. It works. It just feels like you're on a chain gang. The drums are just like We're just doing the same repetitive thing over and over. The song's only like 2+ minutes long, as if Bruce Springsteen's like, I'm not going to subject the listener to this. Too many people in their real lives have to go through this kind of stuff. I'm not going to do it. Then we get Streets of Fire, nice one that has just this really slow burning intensity to it. Kind of gets bigger at times, but then it also just stays pretty slow burning. Then we get Prove It All Night. This was the theme song to KMET. Play it all night, KMET rocks LA. I knew this song long before I ever heard this album, mainly because of KMET in Los Angeles. Absolutely love this song. Another just rock anthem about sort of blue collar love. I need that love to help me just get through life. And then it closes out with the title track, Darkness at the Edge of Town. Just another one with this slow burning intensity. Well, everybody got a secret, Sonny. Kind of fades out at the end. It's just like, hey, there's no hope for us. We're just going to fade off into the future, into the night, into the past, into whatever we fade off into. It's a depressing album, but it's a ridiculously great album. I really wanted it to be number one, just because I probably do listen to this one a little bit more than I have at number one. But number one has 4 perfect songs. And it has the song I'm going to argue is the greatest rock and roll track of all time, as I define rock and roll. But anyways, number 2, Darkness on the Edge of Town. Let's get on to number 1. My number 1 is Born to Run, his third, 1975's just outright classic album. I got to start this off by giving a shout out to Roy Bittan. When Bittan joined the band, took over on piano or helped with piano because Sanchez is still here, Federici's still here, Big Man's on the horn, Weinberg's on drums, Talent's on bass. We still got the E Street band is here. But when Bittan started playing piano, like, we just went next level. It just became like unfair to the rest of the bands. Nobody truly did it better at this point. 4 perfect songs on this album. The opening track, Thunder Road. It's a perfect song. Every line, I don't think there's a repeated line. Maybe there is a Thunder Road like phrasing that gets repeated, but there is just line after line after line after this is quotable. My favorite is "You ain't a beauty, but hey, you're all right," which is just like gets to the core of so many of these love songs. It's like the singer almost doesn't want to admit that they're madly in love with someone and wants to find some sort of flaw, but then ultimately it's like, I will do anything for you and let's just get out of this town. I want to leave, but I want to leave with you. I don't want to leave alone. It's a perfect 4 minutes and 49 seconds. And in the lonely cool before dawn, that little funky little bit in there, the soaring epic. This is why Clarence Clemens' saxophone is here, is for these sort of epic endings. Thunder Road is a perfect song. The second song, 10th Avenue Freeze Out, it's a perfect song. The intro, the horn drop, the piano, and the big man join the band, the self-referential world-building action in there. Like, it's upbeat. You feel like you want to dance, but then when you listen to the words, it's like, he's screaming, I'm all alone, and I can't go home. So he's just out on the street, like living life and making friends, but maybe he wants to have a place he can go home. Like, there's a sadness to this, but it's completely hidden in the music. I'm going to do this song last. We get Jungle Land, a true epic, 9.5 minutes. It does not hurt that the piano entry in this flirts very much with Elton John's Tiny Dancer. I'm okay with that. But this is your epic storytelling Springsteen. Like, he's figured it all out. The pieces are all together. We got it's just an epic song. Sort of the song gets moving along, the chord progression sounds very much like Judas Priest, living, bum, 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 bum. Not as like rock as that, but like piano driven. Great breaks with this, about 4 minutes into this, just absolutely awesome break with a soaring Clemens saxophone solo that is probably one of the best things he's ever done. They finally bring it back down towards the end for like a nice piano outro. And though things do kind of build at the end, we don't get this like return to this explosive ending. Like, Springsteen knows to kind of keep it low key, but it's just your epic storytelling song. It's like 9.5 minutes of perfection. 3 perfect songs, and then there's one more. Born to Run. I think Born to Run is the perfect rock and roll song. Not hard rock, not rockabilly, not pop rock, not metal rock, not any other subgenre, not glam rock, but if rock and roll, I think this is the perfect song. It's 4.5 minutes, perfect length, driven by guitar, that great guitar theme, incredible lyrics, that crazy little crazy thing like 2/3 of the way through. The energy is fantastic. When they do that crazy stream and he's like 1, 2, 3, 4, the highway jammed with you. That part is great. And then one of the last lines, I'll love you with all the madness in my soul. What is more rock and roll than wanting to love somebody with the madness, all the madness in your soul? 4 perfect songs. The other songs, also there's one song on here I don't like. Despite the fact that there is a song on here I just flat out do not like, I'm still putting this at number 1. I don't like Night. I think it doesn't fit in the sequencing. I think it maybe works better if it's towards the second half of the album. It's third. We get Thunder Road, 10th Avenue Freeze Out, and then Night just comes in hot. The horns are too much. The energy is too much. I think it ruins the early flow. It's 3 minutes long, but it does so much damage to me in the momentum of that. I don't like the song. I'm still putting this at number 1. We get Badlands, awesome piano intro, just bitten, man, on the piano, just elevates these songs to the next level. Get a really nice huge drop with that Badlands guitar riff. Really great portrayal of young desperate lovers, just riding in the back streets, man. I said Badlands is back streets. I call this Badlands back streets, obviously. Badlands was on the other one. Great piano propelled ending, living in the back streets, running in the back streets. Just absolutely wonderful. And Bruce's vocals, he's just like tearing up them vocal cords. Yeah, back streets, another fantastic song. Close to perfect, but not quite perfect. So we get Thunder Road, 10th Avenue Freeze Out, Night, Backstreets, Born to Run. Then we get She's the Run, which has kind of a Bo Diddley, Buddy Holly type tune, type beat. Some nice rhythmic shifts in here that keep things interesting. Then we get the, hey, let's bring things down for like 3 minutes before we get the epic jumble land of meeting across the river. Nice piano, nice little horn, really low-key action. Very sad character. He's just desperate and trying to make it. But yeah, it's another sad song before we get to the epicness of Jungle Land. 4 perfect songs on this album. And a song I don't like. But those 4 perfect songs are so perfect that this is number 1. Easily. In the 70s. Born to Run. And Roy Bittan, all the props, perfect. The whole E Street Band, perfect. The bass playing, so underrated in Springsteen. Everything, perfect. That's my number 1. Born. And that is what those albums look like right there in the order I just discussed them. Disgusted them. All great, like all great. We go from great to greater to greater to greatest. That would be my ranking. I would say, I'm saying all S tier. Like, The Wild might be S-, but it's S tier. Rosalita and Kitty's Back just like pop that up. And yeah, I don't know. Fantastic. And there's more to be added to this tier as we continue on, at least through the next decade for sure. Then even after that, we got some surprises that continue to pop up for this man. But yeah, that's all I got. Let me know your thoughts on these albums, how you would rank them, things like that, songs, all that, on Factory Love, Blue Collar Love, whatever it is Springsteen does. All right. His guitar playing is fantastic, dude. That's one thing. Like, watch live, like especially 78 performances of him when he's dropping guitar solos. I think it's before, is it Prove It All Night when he does the solo, or The Promised Land? He has his epic guitar solo before he drops into that song. Fantastic stuff. We will eventually get to that at some point on this channel. But anyways, that's all I got for now. Subscribe, like, share, comment. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Drop the 80s video probably in a couple days. All right. Peace. Talk to you later.